Good morning. It's Sunday, January 5th. And on Sundays, when I was a kid, it was one of the great days of the week because most of the time we went out to lunch at a little Chinese restaurant on Jerome Avenue in the Bronx, and we had great meals for something like a quarter. And I remember that Sunday was a very happy day for most of the time. The family got together and enjoyed it. And in those days, my folks were working hard, so when they had a day off, it was an opportunity for us to gather and have a good time. Now, I always had a good time growing up because I had plenty of friends and we played ball in the street, stickball and punt ball and basketball and touch football. We did all of those things and we were happy. And I'm surprised now that I'm reading something that talks about the happiness of countries and how the U.S. has dropped from the top 20 happiest countries below that. They were ranked, the U.S. was ranked number 15 last year. And now they're ranked something like number 24 of the happiest countries in the world. And I don't even know that there was such a thing as happiness rank. And when you look at the happiness ranking of countries around the world, you find that the Scandinavian nations are the happiest places. You got Finland and Denmark and Iceland and Sweden in the top 4 place. And Israel ranks number 5 in the world as happiness, and that is really surprising to me, given that their life situation is a dangerous place. And then you got the Netherlands and Norway and Luxembourg, Switzerland and Australia. All of those are in the top 10. And we in the United States are dropped down something like number 24. But it isn't that way across the entire country, because it seems like the older population, those of us in this country who are over 60, are among the happiest people. We are leading the country in happiness. And it's the group that's under 30 that is having the most problems. Now, that's much different from a lot of other countries. In many countries, particularly in Central and Eastern Europe, the reverse is true. The older people are unhappy and the younger ones are happy. At the bottom of the world list is Afghanistan. They have been last in happiness forever, even though I didn't know that there was such a ranking. I never thought of any ranking for happiness. But the research that they did in over 140 nations in order to rank the world's happiest, it's based upon people's assessment of the overall satisfactions in their lives. So I would expect that if you're doing well on your job, you're making a good buck, everybody is healthy, then you're going to be happy. But I know I have had friends who have not always been happy. There are some people who are very picky, and so they can be unhappy in any situation. And then there are those people who are happy no matter what happens to them. So when you're thinking about a nation's healthy life expectancy, you have to worry about money, the amount of money that's available to the general public, so to speak. And so I can understand why we don't rank very well when we have over 10% of the population is living below the poverty level, right? So you have to look at these things. You have to look at the levels of corruption that exist in the country. If the country is basically corrupt in some way, shape, or form, then that affects the population. And then there's social support. If you don't have a good social support system, you're not going to have a lot of happy people. And then, of course, there's something like generosity. Those people who have and are willing to give in many ways. I'm not talking about cash. I'm talking about people who are volunteers and work in different places to make other people's lives more stable and more happy. So there's generosity. And then, of course, a very important factor is the freedom that's available in a country. If you're in a country where you're under strife because there are a lot of rules and regulations and you're constantly being watched by something, and you don't have the freedom to do what you would like, then of course you're not going to be a happy person. Now, we in the United States have plenty of freedom. We can do most anything, and we can do it easily. And there are many things that are more expensive than they used to be. And I'm talking about just general life happiness making. For instance, going to the movies now is not what it was when I was a kid. When I was a kid, you could go to the movies for a dime and a quarter. For a quarter, you were in heaven. You watch a double feature, the chapters, the cartoons, and you had money to buy candy. Those days are gone forever. But we lived through that and we became happy anyhow. So there are many things in life that make people happy. The mere fact that you could go out and play a game on the street could make. And if you're healthy, health is very important in the assessment of happiness. You can't be very happy if you're not healthy. So there are a lot of things that go into being a happy person. You have to have a good relationship with many, many people to be happy. You have to have relatives who understand your relationship with your friends and not their friends. And you have to understand that parents can be unhappy and that causes their children to be unhappy. But in many, many cases, it's the child that makes the parent happy. The child does well in school. The child does well at their activities. The child stays out of trouble. You've got a happy family. And then, of course, living costs are what makes people happy. So if you have good jobs and you like your work, that's wonderful. And if you retire and you retire wealthy and you retire and you don't have to worry about it, your house is paid for, whatever it is, all those things contribute to happiness. So when I look at the list of countries, I assume that those countries are doing the right thing by the people in those living in those countries. And it was very interesting in that entire list, there weren't any Asian countries on that list. So they're not doing all that well in Asia or places in South America. But to be in the United States and to end up ranked 24th is a disgrace. But it turns out most of the young people in this country are not as happy as the older population. So I leave you with that. Think about your situation. Think about how happy you are or how unhappy you are. Think about the things that make you happy. Think about the things that make you upset. And think about the fact that it's better to be happy if you're living a long time. So have a great day and don't think about this too much. Take care. Bye.